New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. And good morning, dear ones. Reverend Robert here on a Saturday morning. It's the 4th of February, 4th of February, and it is 9 o'clock on the Mountain Time Zone. That means it is time for our Science of Mind and Spirit Saturday morning conversation series. This happens every Saturday morning, and we invite you to join along. Be a part of what we're doing here today. Feel free to chat along, chime along, sing along, ask questions, offer insights, whatever it may be as we go today. And if you're new to this program and this is your first time with us, welcome. We take an hour, not quite an hour, 45, 50 minutes every Saturday morning to take a look at the science of mind and to learn from this mighty textbook. I got to come back here. And to learn from this mighty textbook and to really dig into what we do and how we do it. And today, we're going to talk about how to use it. I totally forgot to create my banners here this morning to make this easier on all of you. So there we go. I will make that happen for you. What do you think? There we go. Always like to get started Saturday mornings with a little bit of comedy. Good morning, Roy. Wayne from Calgary, Roy from Fort Morgan. Well, I know where you both live. Good morning and welcome to both of you. Glad you're with us here in Colorado. And Fiona all the way from Geneva. Good afternoon. Brother Diego up in Greeley, Colorado. Anyone else that might be watching now or at another time, please feel free to chime along and let us know you're here. Okay, so we're going to dig in to the fourth section of the introduction to the science of mind and spirit today. And we're going to say thank you to all of our team that's been bringing us forward so far this year. Good morning, Linda, from here in Colorado as well. Glad you're with us. And Reverend Mark did a great job last week of getting us up to date on where we are. So we're studying this book chapter by chapter, section by section, as you will, throughout the year. And today is how to use it. So it starts on page 51, and we're going over to page 60. About 9 pages here that we're going to study this morning. And again, feel free to chime along, let us know, and interact with us live. Leave a comment or a question. We're happy to do that. So, okay. Here's what I love about this section. And I'll tell you, this was part of it. My very first introduction to this book, actually, I read the first 100 pages the first time I sat down to read this. I read through the chapter, through the first 4 sections and through the first 4 or 5 chapters in the actual text. And when I got to this section, well, I was a little confused and had to read it a few times. But this really spoke. And over time, this section right here gets a lot of attention from me, and almost every section of it is highlighted, underlined, or annotated for some reason or another, for some class or for some talk or for something that I've used it for. So this, I believe this will be fun. All right, so first off, page 51. First thing that Holmes says, one of the great difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. Wow. Forgot that was there. As a matter of fact, we only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. That which we cannot prove may or may not be true, but that which we can prove certainly must be. Right off the bat, the only way we can actually prove that we're using this and not just talking about it, not just sitting around listening to videos or speeches or Sunday morning sermons, but actually using this is by proving our own demonstrations. That's all there is to it. Now, the demonstration is the outpicturing, or maybe not, of what we think we want when we put it into prayer, but we're going to get there in a minute. Further down on that page 51, Holmes also says, it's apparent intangibility is lessened whenever and wherever anyone actually demonstrates the supremacy of spiritual thought force over apparent material resistance. Now, when he uses the word it here, he's talking about God, the power of the force, the one, the divine. The one, the principle, appears intangible. And I think this is less and less so than ever before. The principle is actually more apparent than ever if we actually look at it and we actually use it and we're aware of it. It's in popular television, it's in sports, it's everywhere. The power of positive thinking. We know that these principles are alive and operating out in the world. So Holmes sets us up right off the bat, reminding us that this is, as near as the next breath, is so incredibly easy for each and every one of us to use, that it sometimes feels really confusing when people don't. We're going to talk about that in a little bit as well, because on the next page, 52, is one of my all-time favorite quotes in this book. One of my all-time favorite passages in this entire book is coming up in just a moment. But before we get there, we got to look at the top of page 52, where Holmes writes, there is no doubt about the immutability and the availability of the law. The law is infinite. Now, so we've just changed over from using the word it to the word law to describe God, or the power, or the force. There is no doubt about the immutability and the availability of the law. The law is infinite. It is right where we happen to be at any given time. It occupies all space and fills every form with differentiations of itself. Now, notice in these paragraphs, if you're following along on the book, in these passages, Holmes is capitalizing the word it. That's the way he does to define God, the principle, the law. So anytime we could substitute this, right, and read, the law is right where we happen to be at any given time. The law occupies all space and fills every form with differentiations of itself. The law also flows through us because the law flows through everything. And since we exist, the law must be in and through us. This is the crux of the whole matter. Infinite and immutable as the law is, ever present and available as it must be, the potential possibility of all human probability It must flow through us in order to manifest for us. For those that maybe watch our prayer time broadcasts, 8:15 a.m. and p.m. Mountain Time, if you catch me, you hear me say it all the time. You hear me speak to this all the time. We are not begging and beseeching some outside force, some guy in the sky to rain down blessings upon us. What we do as, I used to say religious scientists, and in this book, that's what it really is. We are in our own way, we are scientists of how religions and consciousness work. But let's just say new thoughters for a bit. Is that all right with everybody? I hope so. As new thoughters, our primary, really our only way to use it is by directing it. And most of us do that in what we call prayer, or spiritual mind treatment, or affirmative prayer, or all the names we give to it. And we call it prayer because that's an easy word to remember. And enough of us were brought up in cultures where we would separate ourselves or go into the silence or go into the prayer. Now, remember, many of us were brought up thinking we needed to beg and beseech for what we wanted, that we needed to get down on bended knee and make an attrition for what we wanted, rather than just stating what we wanted and letting the divine take care of the how. Letting it figure out all the minutia, figure out what people and parts and resources and players need to come together to fulfill the desire that you hold, that I hold, that we all have. It must flow through us in order to manifest for us. So if there's something in our lives, we have to allow the energetic vibration of that something to flow through our lives in order to become real and demonstrated in our lives. He says that again later in the next paragraph, at the very bottom of the next paragraph. It works for us by flowing through us. This law we did not create. This law we cannot change. That's an important point. We cannot change the law. We cannot change the way this works. A thought held in mind long enough, believed long enough, strong enough, has to take form in some way. We can use it correctly only as we understand and use it according to its nature. So what is the nature of God? What is the nature of this divine power, this divine force, this one? I believe its nature is to create joyously, with love and abundance and prosperity, with order and beauty and truth. And here it is, folks, right? Here it is. Here's the big kit and caboodle of it all. My all-time favorite passage. I read this and I went back over it and I said, wait a minute. And I read it again. I said, wait a minute. I read it again. And here it is. Hence it follows that if we believe it, the law will not work. And remember, we cannot change the law. So our thinking that the law isn't going to work cannot change the fact that the law works. Hence it follows that if we believe it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. Take that one in for a minute. The law of creation is operating, and it is demonstrating not working. When we believe that it cannot, when we believe the law cannot and will not, then according to the principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does, only it does according to our belief that it will not. Here it is all in one place. Hence it follows that if we believe it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. When we believe that it cannot and will not, then according to the principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does, only it does according to our belief that it will not. Now, Holmes continues by saying that this is our own punishment through the law of cause and effect. I think it's more the great awakening and reminder. We do not, this is our own punishment through the law of cause and effect. We do not enter in because of our doubts and fears. It is not a punishment imposed upon us by the Spirit of God, but an automatic result of failing constructively to use the law of God. And I would say to use the law for good. It is not a punishment imposed upon us. When we say we want something and subconsciously, unconsciously, we don't believe we can have that or deserve that, or even outright consciously don't believe we can deserve that. If in our prayer work we are affirming prosperity and financial abundance, and the back of our mind is going, yeah, right, sure, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. No way you're gonna get the rent in time. Then it does not by appearing, it does by appearing to not work. And when it doesn't work, we use that as evidence that this is all hooey and we walk away. Or worse still, we use it as evidence that we're not good enough. And we use that to beat up on ourselves and think we have to take another class or attend another workshop or go by another lecture, when what we really need to do is use it. Just continue to use it. Continue to make those prayers. Yes, Diego. Henry Ford said it. Whether you believe you can or you cannot, you're right. Whether you think you can or think you're not going to, you're right. You're going to get it. You're going to get an experience. You are going to experience a demonstration of the cumulative beliefs you hold and the prayer that you are casting into the universal law. Because remember, we can't change the law. The law is going to do what the law does. What we can do is change how we approach the law, what we put into the law. Focus on what we want and let the law take care of the how. Focus on the vision, focus on the dream. And that doesn't mean that we don't take care of what's in front of us as well. I focus on the vision, and even mystics have bills to pay. There's a great book out there about that. We each have to do what is ours to do. Whether that's taking out the garbage, doing the dishes, volunteering at a local community resource, whatever is calling you, that's what this is all really. We got to figure out what is mine to do, right? Each one of us is here to figure out what is mine to do. On page 53, Holmes continues, God does not punish the mathematician who fails to obtain the right answer to his problem. The thought of the unsolved problem does punish them until he applies the right principles and thus secures the desired results. A little bit farther down in the middle of the next paragraph, in dealing with this subtle power of mind and spirit, we are dealing with a fluent force. It is forever taking form and forever deserting the form which it has taken. Now, again, those that tune into prayer time, you hear me say this as well. The first cause, one self-existent cause that is forever taking on form and experience, and then abandoning that form and those experiences in order to take on new form, new experience. in order to demonstrate itself again. Because it's in the demonstrations that we come to realize the truth of who we are and our power to control and create, control the conditions and create what we really desire. Thus, a practitioner of this, quote, science should not be confused over any given form, but should know that any form which is not of the original harmony is subject to change. Anything that's out of alignment with the divine flow, anything that's out of alignment with the nature of the law, anything that's out of alignment with the vision of where we're headed. Now, this is part of it. I want you to know, right? Every part, okay, any form which is not of the original harmony is subject to change. Doesn't mean it is mandated to change. And that's why, quote, bad things happen to good people. That's why we see what would appear to be less than beneficial social policies from politicians in various parts of the world. The law cannot be changed, but the force is fluid. Our experience is fluid. You ever wake up one day and somebody offers you something to eat that you've always liked? Let's say maybe chocolate ice cream. Maybe you've always loved chocolate ice cream. And you wake up one day and somebody offers you chocolate ice cream and there's something inside of you that just says, no thanks. Don't feel like chocolate anymore. And then you start after a while to realize that, wait a minute, I haven't had chocolate ice cream in a while. And then somebody offers you chocolate ice cream and you actually say, no, I'm not big on chocolate ice cream anymore. Or any such thing. Our experience is fluid. And in that moment, when we wake up to our realization of this truth, then we were at that choice point to say, well, wait a minute, maybe I do want to try chocolate ice cream again. Or maybe I want to continue on this new path and not have chocolate ice cream at all. Maybe it's just something that forever taking on form and experience. One self-existent cause. This is God. This is the law. One self-existent cause that is forever taking on form and abandoning that form in order to take on new form, new experience. I too, Fiona, love the visual of the fluid force. Because it means that you're not anchored in to the way it's always been. Say that again. Come on, say that with me. I'm not, say it as an I am. I'm not anchored in to what's always been. And that is true of everyone. We each have this ability to change our thinking and watch the conditions of our life change around us. And Holmes says, a little bit farther down, we're still on page 53, paragraph 4, thought should tend more and more towards an affirmative attitude of mind that is positive, stable, and above all else, toward a real unity with spirit that is already complete and perfect. So I'm here to create a unity that's already whole, complete, and perfect. Yes. We're here to embrace that. We're here to embrace that our unity with spirit is already complete and perfect. Early on in my exploration of the science of mind, along with a teacher and a friend, came up with sort of a definition for perfect that has always rung true for me, and I've always held on to it. And again, this is something, if you listen to my prayer work, you hear it. I define perfect as whole and complete with nothing missing. So the perfection that you are, the perfection of, let's start at the top. The perfection of God is whole and complete with nothing missing. The perfection of you, of who you are, is whole and complete and there's nothing missing. Even if there's something in your mind that says there's something missing, or there could be more, or I would like it if this was this way or that was that way. That's all ego-based stuff. Deep truth, you are whole, complete, perfect. There's nothing missing, nothing absent from your life. And therefore, we want to see the world through that lens and recognize that no matter what's going on, the experience is whole and complete with nothing missing in that moment for that person, for me, for those I see. And when that experience is done, the one self-existent cause will abandon that form or abandon that experience in order to take on something new. It's kind of like changing a tire. Now, I don't know if you've ever had to change a tire on the side of the road or in a parking lot or anywhere like that. You walk out into your garage, your driveway, and your tire's flat. So you break out a jack and you break out the tools that are in the car. Don't have to get upset about it. Don't have to get worried about it. Don't have to work up a fuss about it. It's just a flat tire. We're going to change. We have the tools. So we take a few moments. If we're running to an appointment, maybe we make a phone call and allow other people to know, hey, I'm going to be a little late. I got a flat tire here. I'm changing it as we speak. I'll be with you. I'll be done here in 10 minutes. I'll be a little late. You take the 10 minutes, you change the tire, and off you go. Totally different form. You're having a different experience. And with this knowledge, you have the awareness that you can control how you have that conversation, how you show up and change that tire. You could kick and scream and work up a fuss and swear and, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me. And the result's the same. The tire is going to get changed or it's not. You're going to do the work, or you're going to have to call somebody to pay somebody else to come do it. How we show up is all in our own hands. Thought should tend more and more towards an affirmative attitude of mind that is positive, stable, and above all else, toward a real unity of spirit that is already complete and perfect. How cool is it that I had to change my tire before going out and doing 60 miles an hour on the highway and having the tire go flat then? Or at a stoplight where I've got to enroll other people to push my car out of the light, or any other scenario you can imagine. The bottom of at the top of page 54. The practice of the science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth, a willingness to let this inner spirit guide us with the conscious knowledge that the law of the Lord is perfect. Holmes did use some Bible language. And we must believe that this to be a fact, insofar as our thought is in accord with the perfect law, it will accomplish and nothing can hinder it. A practitioner uses thought definitely and for specific purposes, and the more definitely they use the law, then the more directly will the law respond to them. Now, again, that language makes it sound like you have to have exactly the perfect word, and we do stress how important it is to be clean in our language. And the rest of this section is going to talk about that in various ways. And it is important to be clean in our language. And I don't believe the law would not respond. I don't believe the law can not respond. So remember, it's still working. It's just appearing to not work. Sometimes that working and appearing to not work gives us what we say we want, but not what is really most beneficial for our lives. and our evolution. And in those cases, we're going to learn from that. We're going to be able to learn, oh, I said I wanted a red Ferrari and I got one, but what I really wanted was safety as well as sport, was this as well as that. Yes, Fiona, the right word, the right feeling, and the right action. All three. All three. So Holmes continues, and I love this on page 54. This is what I call the promise of the Christ consciousness. And this is in the third paragraph. While it is true that wrong conditions exist, they could not remain unless there were someone to experience them. Consequently, the experience must be in consciousness. So if there's someone that's suffering, if there's someone that is troubled, that's partly because of their consciousness. Consequently, the experience must be in consciousness. So the suffering is in consciousness. Change the consciousness, and the false condition will disappear. Change your thinking, change your life. Conditions are not entities. We are entities. Cannot that which is conscious cast out that which has no consciousness? If we properly understood, we would be able to remove false conditions as easily as Jesus did. He knew. Now, Holmes then makes the accusation that our faith is weak and we must strengthen it, and we can. And yes, and I believe we have been. And I believe that over time, since these words were written over 100 years ago now, we have learned how to do this. Countless people, generations have learned how to do this. This is what I believe is the promise of the Christ consciousness. Jesus knew we can strengthen our faith. And when we strengthen our faith to the level that Jesus embodied, then we too shall be perceived as miracle workers. And yet, much of what we do has become more and more mainstream, let's say. More and more people are conscious of how this works, that what used to seem like a miracle now seems like every day. The New Thought philosophy was built on the concept of physical healing. The earliest inklings of what we now call New Thought, we can trace all that back, and it all goes back to mind healing. It all originates out of this belief, this faith that we can heal the body through the power of the mind. And sometimes we don't believe even what we know to be true. And this is where Holmes takes us on page 54, bottom of 54 and 55. Therefore, one knows that their apparent limited condition has no real law to support it and is simply an experience of consciousness. And we can cast that out because the conscious always is overruling the unconscious. We wish a definite result in the opposite direction, but first we realize that the law of life is a law of liberty and of freedom. We now state that this law of liberty is flowing through me and into all my affairs. But the imagination of limitation persists. This is the very top of 55. Here is a definite contradiction of our statements of freedom. Right here, we must stop and declare that the images of limitation are neither person, place, nor thing, that they have no power, no personality, nor presence, and no real law to support them. One does not believe in these, and they cannot operate through me. One is free from their influences forever. We then begin to fill our thoughts with the ideas of faith, the expectancy of good, and the realization of plenty. We sense and our mentality sees right action in our lives. We put this whole trust in the law of good, and it becomes very real to us as we definitely speak it into being, into our being, and into the being of our affairs. We deny anything and everything that contradicts our realization of truth. The very definition of what we call argumentative treatment. See, folks, if we're going to build our faith, we have to practice when we are faced with opportunities to believe less than, to be in our fear. We have to be willing to say, I'm not buying into the fear today. I'm buying into my faith and trusting that it shall prevail, that the law must demonstrate. This does not mean that we should refuse to hold conversation with people that may neutralize our position, but to use these pieces to strengthen our faith. Recently, I read a fabulous book, and the title of it is That'll Never Work. And it's the story of Netflix. Now, it's the story of the early years of Netflix, specifically when they were the forced streaming, when they were just mailing, actually videotapes and then DVDs across the country. And everybody said it'll never work. Well, we know what happened to Netflix, and we don't know what happened for all those people that said it'll never work. Our job, if you will, our work is to hold so definitively to the truth as we know it, and to allow for revelations of truth as they happen, and then demonstrate that in our lives. Demonstrate that in how we show up, in who we choose to be. What I believe and what I have come to know over time there is nothing that can truly deny me my good other than me. There's no one that can get in my way other than me. And what I know is the easiest way to get out of my way is through treatment. It's through a powerful spiritual mind treatment. Is through a revelation of truth. And in the following pages here, Holmes starts to really lay out just how powerful this is. Page 57, top of the second paragraph. The truth is instantaneous in its demonstration, taking only such time in its unfoldment as is inherent in the law of a logical and sequential evolution. Healing and demonstration take place as our minds become attuned to the truth of being. There is no process of healing, but there is generally a process in healing. This process is the time and the effort which we undergo in our realization of truth. So we don't just snap our fingers and cure our heartache, and we could, because the truth is instantaneous in its demonstration. It's just us that has to wake up to and realize that the truth is being revealed. We pray for more income, we pray for greater prosperity. As long as we believe it, It is happening. The wheels of the universe, if you will, the law is already operating upon your desire. We just got to be in a place where we can accept it when we see it. I'm surprised. I can say this because I've done it. And I've done it recently. And someone comes forward with an idea. Maybe it's an idea on how to make more money. Maybe it's an idea on how to fulfill part of the vision of this network. Maybe it's an idea on how they can fulfill more of their calling. And recently, my dear wife came to me with an idea of a way to create and open another revenue stream in our household and for our family. And it wasn't that I didn't believe. I just took the human place of, I don't want to. And so here's the point. I shot it down. I shot down the idea. I tried to make the idea wrong rather than just saying, I don't want to do that. Doesn't feel like a calling to me. Doesn't feel like something I really want to do. So I don't know that I want to do that. But I made the idea wrong rather than standing in. Now, it only took a couple of minutes of discussion for her and I to realize, well, that's what I was doing. And okay, we opened up to maybe that is an idea. Let's take a look at that. There is no process of healing. There is a process in our healing. Whether that's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. The one who wishes scientifically to look at their problems must daily take the time to meditate and mentally treat the condition, no matter what the apparent contradictions may be. This one is working silently in the law, and the law will find an outlet through their faith in it. This law is the law which puts the act into all action. It is the invisible actor working through us to will and to do. As a result of right treatment, the mold formed in the subjective mind by the treatment makes possible a concrete manifestation. It's heavy stuff. The treatment is an intelligent energy in the invisible world. It is a spiritual entity working through the law of mind, and it is an actual force now consciously directed. Therefore, it must produce specific results. Our dear friend Linda said a moment or two ago, yes, language matters, but clear intent is even more important. Absolutely. Specific results. We have to know what it is that we want. We have to know what it is that we want. And here's the cool part. We don't have to know how. Often, rarely do. We do not put the power into our treatments, and we will take out of the treatment only as much as we believe is in it. Remember, we're not creating this. We're harnessing it. We're directing it. It's available to everyone in great and equal measure. Just like electricity, just like gravity. None of us can escape it. It never stops working. We can try and suspend it and it doesn't happen. And we each have the ability to use it. But we have to use it in the right way. See, a treatment, this is back to Holmes on 58. A treatment is a spiritual entity in the mental world, and it is equipped with power and volition. As much power and volition as there is faith in it, and as much as there is given to it by the mind of the one using it and operating through the law. It knows exactly how to work and what methods to use and just how to use them. We do not put the power into this word, but we do let the power of the law flow through it. And the one who most completely believes in this power will produce the best results. This is the law of cause and effect again. So we can use this law of cause and effect, this power, towards beneficial means, or we can misuse the power towards personal means, towards less than beneficial means, let's say, towards more challenging experiences. One should treat any given proposition until they prove the principle, no matter how long it takes. We should treat until we get results, until there comes into our objective experience the actual outpouring of our subjective words. You hear people say, treat and move your feet, to pray unceasingly. We make a definite and definitive energetic vibration that we cast into the law, and we don't turn our back on it. We don't give up on it. We don't say, oh yeah, if you feel like it. Hey, divine supreme being, I could use a few extra bucks if you feel like it. If you can get around to it sometime. If it doesn't hurt you too much. No. We make definitive and definite affirmations of the truth we know ourselves to be and we desire to experience. A little bit farther down on page 59 there too, the practitioner must know and must state that there are no obstacles in the pathway of truth. In the bottom paragraph, the practitioner must know that no past mistake can hinder or obstruct the flow of divine intelligence through God's idea, which is perfect man, manifesting the attributes of God in freedom, happiness, activity, and power, and that this truth is now made manifest in our lives. We are the light that is shining the truth so brightly that we cannot afford the luxury of a disbelief. We cannot afford ourselves the leisure of doubt. We, as mental and spiritual practitioners of this faith, of this philosophy, must stay diligent in remaining true to the truth, in remaining true to the law. On page 60, pretty much the whole page, the mental attitude of the practitioner is one of denial toward every false condition that opposes the principle of life as one of absolute perfection. Yeah, but some people need to suffer. No, they don't. Well, it's good that some people are poor because it shows them. No, it's not. We must remain true. That this is available to everyone. God's world is perfect, and this is the principle we have to demonstrate. Spiritual things must be spiritually discerned, and when we are ready and willing spiritually to discern, we shall find a ready response from the invisible into the visible. Let us do our work consciously and thoroughly and leave the results to that law which is perfect. Focus on the what. Let God take care of the how. Yes, exactly, Roy. We have to put our faith into action in order to produce results. Now, that action might be simply prayer. That action might be to get out and work at a homeless shelter, or that work might be to get out and work at a job resource center, or that work might be any number of things. But what I want us to remember, and Holmes shares that here, a new light is coming into the world. We are on the borderland of a new experience. The veil between spirit and matter is very thin. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. A new science, a new religion, and a new philosophy are rapidly being developed. This is in line with the evolution of the Great Presence, and nothing can hinder its progress. Not even me. Not even you. Yes, Linda. Reminded by these words that a practitioner is one who practices and consciously utilizes the principles of science of mind. A license is not essential to implement the principles. Yes, exactly. Anyone says you have to be a licensed, there is a difference between a licensed practitioner with the Centers for Spiritual Living and a practitioner of truth, a practitioner of new thought. So, by all means, let it be known that you are a new thought practitioner. The very last paragraph here. True thought deals directly with first cause. And this science is the study of first cause, spirit, or the truth, that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself. This is how we use it, through the power of prayer, to change our thinking, to change our consciousness. Because our consciousness is not an entity, we are. We are equally, you are equally welcome to maintain yourself exactly as you are and do nothing different. And that's fine if your world is perfect. And if there's anything you'd like to see different, this book's got the answers. And this practice, this new thought philosophy, I believe, teaches us how to use it and invites us to use it for good. So that is the invitation this day for you as well, to use this for good. So I have an affirmation I'd like to share with you. I'd like you to, I'm going to say it through once. I'd like you to repeat it through with me a couple times after that. The affirmation. Today, I celebrate the light I am, the love I express, and the gifts I bring to this amazing adventure called life. If you would, please say that with me. Today, I celebrate the light I am, the love I express, and the gifts I bring to this amazing adventure called life. If you would, one more time. Today, I celebrate the light I am, the love I express, and the gifts I bring to this amazing adventure called life. And so if you'll join me in a spiritual mind treatment, affirming our recognition of the one, affirming our recognition of one power, one presence, one infinite intelligence that is taking on form and experience and life as my life, as your life perfectly. I recognize God as that one self-existent cause forever taking on form and experience and abandoning those forms, abandoning those experiences, so we may take on new form. So it may take on a new experience. So it may bring a new way of seeing, a new idea, a new vision into the world through the human lens. See, we are bringing, in our divine perfection, we are bringing the divine into human form. We're bringing the timeless into human time. We're bringing that which is invisible into the visibility of human experience. We're doing that through the power of our own word. This is how we use it, through the power of our own word, to deny any limiting beliefs, to cast any doubts or misbeliefs back into the nothingness from whence they came, and focus ourselves deeply on that, what it is we truly desire. Focus ourselves on how it is I am here to serve, how it is I am going to give, how it is that I will be a beneficial presence on the planet. Focus on the what, like God take care of the how. That's what it's all about. And in that, we learn how to use these principles. We learn how to use our languaging. We learn how to bring intent and clarity and intention to our prayer, into not a beseeching prayer, but an affirmative prayer, a prayer of recognizing the truth that is right now revealing itself. And then it must reveal itself that the law of procreation, the universal law of love and light and beauty, the one must manifest these words, must bring these words into form. These words cannot return void. This prayer cannot be left unfulfilled. It must, by the very nature of the universe, it must be brought into form. So I am in a place of absolute gratitude, creating a vibration of excited, exalted gratitude, ecstatic gratitude for what wants to be, for how the law takes this prayer and demonstrates and manifests. And I am grateful to be a witness to how this happens and to what the outcome will be, what the outcome already is. For this word is already taking form as my life, as the lives of each and every one that are in an affirmative truth and an affirmative alignment with the universal one. All is well, all is good, all is God. I am grateful. And so I release this word into the law. It must demonstrate that it is in fact already operating upon it. I get out of the way and I let it be. I let God do what God does. And if any word of this has resonated with you in any way, please join me in an affirmation of truth as we say together. And so it is. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for being with us and knowing that as it flows, it is so. Exactly, Fiona. Thank you. Dear one, I'm Rev Robert. I'm so grateful to be with you. Thank you for being a part of what we're doing here on the New Thought Media Network and being with us. We'll be back again next week, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, and we're going to jump right into now part 1. The nature of being, what we believe about God and man, and chapter number 1 is called In the Beginning, God. I invite you to stay connected with us here on the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, subscribe, let your friends know what we're doing, and let everybody know what we're up to, and invite a few people to join us next week. Janice, I do hope I'm saying that correctly, and so it is. Thank you for being with us, dear one. Glad you're here. Folks, if you have any other input you'd like to share with us, please feel free. Send it over, info@ntmedia.org. We'll make sure to take a look at your suggestions. I'm Rev Robert. I'm going to get out of here for now. Thank you for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And hey, be sure to check in tomorrow, all day Sundays. We have spiritual broadcasts from various churches and just to talk from various locations throughout the day. So please plan to join us for that. I'm Rev Robert. I love you. Until next time, I wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.